Is it captured in the front?
Yeah.
Shall I move from here?
Oh, Denise, if you can't see it, yeah. Sorry.
No, so I'm launching to the.
No, it's not filming. It's not showing.
Now it's filming. Sorry,
Okay.
it started.
Okay. So hello everybody. We haven't seen it. Good evening everyone. So today we are going to talk about the wounded soul. I was checking the talks that I've done this year, and I think that I'm going deep and deep and deep, because I started talking about the pain, and then I started talking about voluntary torments, and now I'm talking about the wounded soul. So I promise next time I'll bring a much lighter
Will be the
topic.
the recovery.
There will be the recovery, yeah.
Perfect.
But I just so the wounded soul. This topic was based on several books, but the one that I used the most was one that is called in Portuguese. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the translation, but it's called As Dores da Alma de Hamed, and it talks about our sufferings. It explores all the feelings that bring us the suffering, but it talks about the feelings behind our masks. It's totally no judgmental, but Hamed and the others that do with him, they explore how these feelings make us suffer, and make us suffer like deep inside when no one is seeing, or when there is no cause for that. The feelings that just, comes as we naturally inherited them. So to beginning with, I'm just gonna read it for you. So we believe that our suffering is a natural part of our spiritual evolution on earth. We understand that our souls are doing an internship of spiritual growth, where we're all learning how to better use our impulses and our inner strength. So this is what we're going to talk about, is the feelings as when we just feel it, before we think how we feel and how can we better understand these feelings, so we can embrace ourselves the way we are now, not waiting for us to become better or to be enlightened or anything. So the first that we want to explore a little bit is illusion. So it all starts like this big plot of our being so fixed to the illusion that we are everything that we can see. Everything that we can see, that we can hold, that we can have, represents exactly what we are. So we think that the life that we have now, it determines how happy we are, or how happy we can be, or how things are. We don't have the tendency to look at things in a long perspective. We just see how things are going now, and then we make the judgment for ourselves, for our own lives, about what things are, what it is. So we are how our health is now, we are how our family is now, we are everything that we can see and that we can hold. So, and the proposition is that we are a spirit living an incarnated experience. So everything that we have, everything that we see, everything that we can hold today, it may be gone the next day. And everything is only part of like a bigger part of our lives, of our eternal lives. We are here passing. We are here to experience things. We're not everything that we see. This is just gonna go today, tomorrow. Our youth will go away. Our children, they'll grow up one day.
And they go, they become.
So everything that we possess, everything that sometimes we care so much about it, everything will go, and the only thing that will stay is us, is ourself. So how am I treating myself? The part that you will stay with me wherever I go, today, tomorrow, for eternity. We are our eternal partners.
Did you use the word chapter?
Chapter.
Did you use that word? Because
No.
this word just came to my head all the time. I said, it's like chapters.
It's like chapters, yeah.
Every day is another chapter.
Is another chapter of like big soap opera that never ends, like, you know, the soap operas we have in England.
Enders.
Yeah, it's Enders, Coronation Street. So, and with this illusion, as part of this illusion, it comes our prides. So these feelings, that we're gonna discuss here, we have to accept. We don't have to accept to each other, but we just have to think that we all have them. We all feel them, and this is about the feeling. We don't think before we feel it, and we all will have. So, to help us to live in this illusion, our pride comes first, because the pride wants to transform us in heroes. They want to make us like the heroes of our lives. So we're so important, and we are dealing so importantly with everybody's business that we feel if we're not here, anything won't happen, because we are the center. The pride brings us to the center of our existing and isolate us as well, because it leaves us alone in a point when we disconnect with everyone that is surrounded us, because I feel so much important than everybody that I choose to disconnect. And then that irresponsibility, when I don't take responsibility for my own existence, for my own responsibility of treating myself well, treating my life with the importance that it has to be, then again, I only give way to disillusion that everything here. So the problem is not me, the problem is everything that comes outside. So I think responsibility for ourselves comes when we stop blaming the world for everything that happens to us. Everything that happens outside and everything that happens inside us as well, the feelings that we have. Once we start blaming others or exterior things, we will start taking responsibility for what we feel and how we react to these feelings. And then fear. So we feel we're so good, we feel that everybody's wrong, and then there is this fear, because fear comes when we try to be so perfect and we are in the middle of this perfection that we get stuck. We can't go anywhere, because once I'm irresponsible, I don't assume I make mistakes. Once I want to be the best that I cannot make a mistake. So then fear comes and freezes us in the place that we are, and it stops us for seeing what is new, what is on the other side of the road, what is on the side of the page. And then it comes the worry. I start to worry because we have to keep up with all of these illusions. And the most intricate thing about the worry people is that we have so much trouble in concentrating on the here and now, because we so disperse with all the things that we want to solve, with all the things that we think that we are capable of solving only by ourselves, that we lose so much of what we have into now, what we live in now. And we think that because we're worrying about things that's not even gonna happen, we're gonna solve them. We have again the illusion that by only worrying, it will help the things to get solved. Because if I'm thinking about my work tomorrow, when I get there, the job will be done and I won't have to do it. And interestingly, we know this is not gonna happen, we know this is not true, but it's like a vicious cycle. We keep doing it, we keep doing these things. Oops. And then I'm very proud of myself. I take care of everything. I can do everything, and then I start to worry because I start losing the plot, and then it comes the self-cruelty, because I start being unhappy with the way that I am, that I start blaming myself for everything that goes wrong with me. We all have issues. We all have so many things going wrong with ourselves. And I blame myself for everything that goes wrong with everything that surrounds me. So instead of embracing all the things that I have, I start neglecting the things that I have, and I start trying to hide them, especially the feelings that I don't think are genuine of a good person. There is a very interesting book. It's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. This is one of the books we used tonight as well. And she explores the facts that the feelings that we don't like, we don't accept that we have, are the ones that comes more stronger in our personality, and usually it comes in situations and in the ways that we like the least to come about. So she explains then how in our childhood we are taught that we cannot behave in certain ways, so we can never be selfish. We can never want things only for ourselves, because this is being selfish and we have to share, and share is good and no wanting to share is bad. So since our childhood, we become to put this inside our minds. And instead of acknowledging the feelings that we have, and then after the acknowledgement trying to deal with them, we're just trying to suppress them. And this happens with all types of feelings. So if I think that I'm proud, I'm very proud, so I try to hide the fact that I feel that I'm proud at all costs. And usually what happens is that my proud will come about in a situation that they're really not ideal, and they're the one that I try to avoid the most. So basically she said that everything that we try to hide, suppress, it controls us. Maybe we're not even aware that the control it has, but it does control us in very subtle ways, in ways that we don't even realize that they are controlling us. And then this carries on and on. I was reading about the Carl Gustav Jung as well, and he has a very good theory. He was the one that came about with this theory, with the theory of shadows. So everything that in my personality is a shadow, so is the good or is the bad, is the duality that I try to hide, so it will come. So he said that he would rather be whole than be good. So he and she, in this book, she proposes that once we embrace everything that we have, the good and the bad, and we starting to love the way we are as a whole, we will be much better on dealing with these feelings that we cannot, it's not control, because feelings is something that they come. And the trouble is not with the feelings that we have, because all of these feelings that we're going to discuss, they are from human nature. The thing is, what we do with the feelings that I have after thinking them through. Do I think them through? Do I really look what I'm feeling? Why am I feeling this? What is this behind this feeling? What does it have here? What is it teaching me? What does it have to say? Do I listen to that? Do I listen to all the feelings that I have, or only the good ones? Am I judging myself? Am I judging myself all the time? So when I have inside the spirit, so when I have a good feeling, a good thought, is inspiration. What if I have the bad one? What is that? No, this is my dark side. This is something that I'm trying. No, I'm getting there. No, maybe this is the ones that is. This is the one that is going to teach you the most, because everything that we have, that we already accept, doesn't teach us as much as the ones that we don't accept yet, the ones that we don't like, that we try to avoid at all costs. But why are we trying to avoid that? Have you ever thought about that? Is there a good reason behind it? Again, what is this trying to teach me? What is this trying to say? Am I going the right way? Why I fall into the trap of feeling this again? Is it the same situation? Is it a different situation? So many questions that we can ask without judging us again, but just trying to investigate why you feeling this way. And again, all of these feelings and the way that we see, especially with the self-cruelty, no one will see. No one will see that I'm angry. But I know that I am. And when I know that I am, what do I do with that? Do I acknowledge that, or I just choose to hide and put under the carpet?
Probably because you yourself don't like it. you try to hide or try to avoid it because you don't actually deal with that, but at the same time you want just to avoid it.
But the more we avoid it, the more they will come about. Because everything that we don't understand, because the lack of, I wouldn't say control, but the lack of love and the unconditional love is the lack of understanding. And when I say a conditional love, again, here is with ourselves, not with anybody else. It's because we don't understand. Because sometimes some of the feelings that we don't like or we don't approve will help us in some circumstances, will help us in some situations. There isn't such a thing as a extremely bad feeling and extremely good one. There is always in the area in between. So it all depends on how I react to the feelings that I have.
Because we can't change what we don't acknowledge.
Exactly.
Because if we ignore something or suppress in such a way, we're not acknowledging, therefore we can't change. It's only when we accept, okay? Like
We
you
face
said,
it, we look
yes,
at it.
if you accept it, oh yes, I am, I can't remember what you said, jealous or envious, then I'm acknowledging it, and then next step we think, what do I want to do about it? How can I change it? So it's only when we accept, acknowledge a situation that we're able to plan a change. Whilst we don't acknowledge, things don't change.
And when we don't have freedom to be, we will never have freedom to choose. Because we will always be feeling trapped in something. So once we have the freedom to be, then we'll be able to choose. Oops. And then there are all these feelings. He explores Hamed again about the addiction. They say it's very interesting the view that he says about the addiction. So, because sometimes when we start the self-cruelty, it leads to all of these feelings, harming feelings towards ourselves, and one of them is addiction. So he said that when we are dependent on someone or something, we deny our fear and hide in the middle of our path. So again, it's all about denying, it's all about hiding it. We interrupt our search for meaning in life, which makes the flow of our spiritual evolution difficult, because the flow of our spiritual evolution happens when we search for the new, when we search for the things that we don't understand yet. So this is where we grow. I think I've mentioned it before. This is where we exercise the muscles of our heart. Is when something is not very, I don't really feel comfortable about that. It's the uncomfort feeling that makes us, move, change. And then there's loneliness. They said we suffer and despair when we don't listen to our inner voice. As soon as we distance ourselves from who we really are, we fall into despair, which transforms into a feeling of loneliness, even though surrounded by those who we love and who loves us. Again, he explores about the loneliness that we feel inside ourselves, even though we can be surrounded with people. But when we are respectful, when we are not holy with who we are, we make a distance, we create a distance between ourselves and the others. So independently of we are surrounded of people or not, we will feel this loneliness inside. And then the guilt, that he says, wisdom is the sum up of our learnings from the various experiences we have throughout life. Not only what we learn intellectually, but more importantly, what we learn from our experience, relationships, successes, and failures in these lives and in the experience lives. So he explains in a very thoughtful way that there's no reason for us to feel guilt for anyone, because we all part of a journey. We all here to learn, and wisdom is, as he says, much more than it is something from what we learn, is how we feel when I go through an experience. This is how it's going to teach me. So when I go to this again, I'll probably will do better, or I don't, or I'll have to do more and more and more. But this is a learning process. We all learners, whether we just started, whether we are in the middle, or whether we are far ahead from others. And then resentment is a bitter result of our failed love relationship. Is the result of expectations that we had and that others had for us that we have not reached. And then he said when we have resentment for ourselves, he explores all kinds of love, all kinds of relationships, not only like love between two people, but all kinds of relationships what we have. When we have too high expectations, firstly for ourselves, and then when we don't reach these expectations, this is where we feel resentment. So have you ever had this feeling of resenting yourself? So like, oh, really? Like I've done it again? Or, oh, I'm still here. I thought I was better and then I was not. So it's this feeling that we have inside us, that we had too high expectations. Maybe we thought we are in a much better position, but then we know, and then we resent where we are. Can you see it there? Yeah. And then selfishness and then he explores selfishness, not only holding on to material possessions, but also and foremost withholding love and distancing ourselves from others. So he explored selfishness in a way that when we withhold our feelings towards other people, maybe because we want to protect us, or maybe just because we don't want to be exposed. And then this tells us about our pride. It tells us about all the other feelings we have to deal with. We have to face it. We have to embrace it. So we can give all the love we have. The more we give, the more we receive. That's it. It's a natural law, isn't it? It's nothing that we do that we will change that. It's just the way it is. The easier and the quicker we accept that, we embrace, I wouldn't say accept, but I would say embrace that idea, the less we will suffer. And then low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is a group of ideas suppressed in our unconscious mind, usually in childhood, he said. Plus all the experience we bring from our previous lives. It triggers a guilt, an obsessive attention to our emotions, and a constant feeling of not belonging. Usually people that have very low self-esteem, when we have low self-esteem, in that period, we feel that we don't belong, and we give an excessive importance to our emotions, to what we feel in reaction to something that happened to us. And this becomes enormous inside us because we don't feel we belong. So we have low esteem, something happened, I feel that I don't belong, nobody loves me, and then my esteem goes down and down. And then comes the anxiety, when he says that beliefs and thoughts are important factors in our everyday life. We always exercising our beliefs, and we always have thoughts every time. We don't stop. There's something we cannot control, we cannot avoid. So, and then he says, but knowing this, wouldn't be more intelligent for us to analyze where are we placing our faith? Where are we placing our faith? If we still have the same kinds of either feelings that harms us, and even the thoughts that we know there are not of any benefit, but we still have them. So how is our faith in relation to our thoughts? How do I exercise my faith? How do I do that? How can I do that? Yeah? How can I observe my thoughts? They won't stop it. And even if they don't stop it, how do I exercise in a way that they won't have such an influence on me? I will just see them going through me. But what I will exercise will be my faith. How will I do that?
Is it a question? Or just
for ourselves, to answer ourselves. This is all about answering ourselves today.
I can see myself in that situation, so that's why I'm working on that. So.
Yeah, I think we all are, isn't it? I think everything that we presenting here, we talking here, we all have in certain stages of our lives, or we have it all the time, isn't it? We all have. We all going through this. anxieties, the pride, the envy, the low esteem, the fear, the pressure, the illusion of thinking, we are what we have, we are what we can see. We all going through this. We all experiencing this. Because this is what makes our life here a learning process. Because we're learning. We're exposed to this feeling so we can learn. How would we learn if we're not exposed to that? If everything is right, everything goes according to my plans, how will I learn?
It's everybody's wish.
Is
It
everybody's
doesn't happen like that.
And then he was saying about dependency, which I found really interesting. Oh, I'm running out of time. He says we become independent when we are our truly selves and believe in our inner power to create a map and a route to reach our objectives. So he relates dependency is when I take care of myself. It relates to responsibility as well. And he has a very interesting view in this passage of the Bible that I've never thought before. He says, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. So the way he explains it, because is that the narrow gate is narrow because only one person can go through it. Because usually what we see with this interpretation is that the narrow is the most difficult one, is the one that we have, to do more to get through it. And the wider is because it's easy, but what he says actually is not that. He said that is narrow because only one person can go at the time. So what we have to work on is to be independent enough, to be courageous enough to create our map, to cross our gate. So maybe then when we cross our gate, we can help others to cross theirs as well. Because if we stay in this illusion, in this distraction, we'll all go to the wider gate, because that's the easy one. I found this really interesting. So we are the responsible for ourselves. And then he says about repression. It's allowing us the right to live our own emotions, means that we are honest with ourselves. Our emotions help us to transform ourselves from within and are directly linked to our mental life and our intuition. It talks about rigidity. It says that the same way we treat others with rigidity, you will be treated yourself. So you have the same treatment. And then he talks about depression. And he compares depressions with the seasons of the year. So it says that although we don't have to be stagnated in there, some pain sometimes is necessary in our lives. So he explores depression not in a way that I will stay there, but in a way that I use that stage to look into myself deeper and to analyze, why am I suffering? What is the cause of my suffering? How can I use this stage that I feel within myself with no exit out? How can I use that truly in a compassionate way with myself? How can I do that? How can we do that? So it shows that even the depression, the sadness, and the pain, it has a reason to be there in our lives. And pain is foremost what brings us together. It brings us to understand each other. It brings us closer to each other. And just finishing it, and the meaning of incarnation is to become conscious of our own inner world. We are divine essence in search of perfection, in a way of embracing ourselves as a whole. And the only way through this is through our own inner discovery. So the only way we are to become holy is when we more and more we try to bring light to our shadows. So we will be one. We won't be separated anymore. And this is just a picture of a bench. So I will invite you, all of you, to sit down there for a few minutes today, tomorrow, and just thinking, how can we embrace ourselves? How can we love ourselves truly, wholly, the way we are now? Do you want to sit here, Carl?
Yes, because I want to look at the clock to control the time. Thank you.
Sure.
Mas is it checked? Is it?
Eu só fechei a terminei. Não, você grava de novo.
Ah, tá, se
Não, ele não quer gravar.
Ele não quer?